Make sure that you're fulfilling you, filling your cup first, not last. Because as moms, we tend to put ourselves last. Ain't time for that. I'm Claudia, and you're listening to She Built Success. Okay, so one of the things I have learned over the years, and this came about a couple years ago, we were at the dinner table, me and my family, and we were talking about how, what are the things that interest you and what are the things that you like. And I found that my kids could actually list all my partner's hobbies. And then I was like, well, what are mommy's hobbies? Crickets. Anybody had no ideas. They were like, And I'm like, well, I know I like reading. That was me. They had nothing. They couldn't list a hobby. They couldn't call a hobby. They couldn't name a hobby. They couldn't phone a friend. And I realized then that I strayed away from the things that I found fulfillment in. And not by any fault of my own, just getting wrapped up in life and day-to-day activities. So I decided to take up aviation. Far-fetched from IT and data strategy and business strategy and all that fun stuff. Yes, I know. But my hobby became aviation. Now, how did I get to aviation? I'll tell you that in a moment. More importantly, I want to kind of drill home the fact that to me, family dinners are important because it allows us time to come together, decompress, talk about the day, talk about what went well, talk about what sucked, and then what's to come for the next day. So whether we're getting in at 9 o'clock from cheer because we have cheer practice, or we're getting in at 8:30 because there was a volleyball game, or we're having a regular dinner like around 6-ish on a good day, good night, I make sure that family dinner is a priority with us. And I think that for us, it's become just the norm. Family's very important. Even for me as a kid coming up, that was something that we made sure to incorporate regularly. And Sunday dinners was like a thing. Like we would have a baked chicken in the oven cooking for like hours on end while we're at church, and then we come back home and you get like the rolls with the butter, just things I like to replicate. So for us, family dinner is important. But then more importantly, that conversation highlighted that I kind of strayed away from those hobbies. So aviation, I'd say about a decade ago, I had a dream, and no, not Martin Luther King, but in that dream, it was me being driven out on a tarmac to a plane, to a private jet. And I was like, all right, bet. God has a sense of humor, because I remembered the dream vividly because there was a purse. And for those of you that know me, purses are my thing, bags are my thing. And I called my sister after this dream and I was like, hey, looking for this bag. And we were on Google and all the things trying to find this bag. We did find a version of it. But when 10 years later, I came to this whole bag conversation because I was like, I could pick up traveling again. This was just after the pandemic. I wanted to get into traveling more. And I was like, okay, well, I want to experience of a private jet. Like, why can't I experience that? Let's go. So then I was like, okay, we escalate real quickly in these parts. Like I push go, and when I push go, we go. So then I was like, okay, me thinking, this is my internal thoughts. Okay, well, if it is I go try a private jet, well, if I want to fly myself and my family, like what would that look like? And so I go look and I'm like, okay, I got some research behind that. And then my next level was, okay, so, I got the private jet research. I know what it would look like to potentially fly my family. What if we go international? Like, let's go over the waters. And I was like, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of time. I was not trying to invest in becoming what they call an airline transport pilot. Those are like United, Delta, Southwest airline pilot. And so I said, well, I could do it as a hobby. That'll be my hobby. I will learn how to fly. So as of right now, I am currently still a student pilot, looking to get my private pilot's license. And aviation, while it is a very pricey endeavor to undertake, is my hobby. And I'm excited to say that we are slowly progressing to the private pilot license, which includes the check ride, which is like where you go up with an examiner and they test your skills and whatnot and your ability to respond. But aviation was my hobby. And so my challenge and question to you is, what's your hobbies? Do you get so wrapped up in mom life? Do you get so wrapped up in being there for your partner? Do you get so wrapped up in your day-to-day that you miss what your hobbies are? And no, your hobbies aren't going to conferences, and your hobbies aren't this next networking event. Your hobbies aren't even you saying, you know what, let me just take a little bubble bath. That's not a hobby. That's the time to relax, but that's not a hobby. What lights you up? What's something outside of the realm of work that you truly enjoy doing or would enjoy doing, taking on? It's never too late to start. It's never too late to try. Find your hobby. Your hobby is what you would enjoy doing outside of fulfilling everybody else's needs. Your hobby is what allows you to be isolated to you. Get some you time, some quality time. Something that if you were to take it away, you'd be like, dude, that really sucks. Even if it's for a season. For me, aviation, while it is an endeavor that I decided to take on, it's something that allows me to not only for myself find fulfillment in the sky, in the clouds, but also share it with my kids. My younger one is going to be my little mini co-pilot because she's already signed up and she's already quizzing me on some of the things within aviation. But I definitely encourage you to figure out where that intersection is for you. That is a hobby that's meaningful. My other item is, where are you going? So you get your hobby, you find something that's meaningful for you, but what fulfillment is that? Is that end goal just for you? And that's okay if it is. Don't feel any guilt. Don't feel any shame or feel some kind of way because it's something just for you. That's yours. But then what is the end result? What is the output? Are you doing something to better your family, your friendships, your relationships, your hustle, your work, your grind, all the things that you do to bring in income and revenue, your career, your goals, your aspirations, raising a family? Take some time to understand what that hobby is for you. The other item that I wanted to really talk about and really, I'll say, turn the heat up on is moms. As moms, we tend to sit here and think about, oh, my child has practice here and I got to make sure I got pickup for this. We got groceries here. We do our mom math. Then we go ahead and we make sure that our partner's good. And then we make sure that, and at the very end, it's you. When there's like next to nothing left. And I think that we tend to miss the mark when it comes to celebrating us and recognizing the achievements and accomplishments that we have. And no, that doesn't mean, again, I'm going to draw this bubble bath thing because there was this really big surge on finding my peace and bubble baths and manicures, pedicures. Yes, they're nice, but that's not it. That's not the center, because you're driven, because you're motivated, because you're dedicated, because you have a why and you have a purpose. It's more than just that. Mom is not your defining title. It is a title. It is a facet of you. It is not who you are. You need to find you. You need to know what it is that you like, your idiosyncrasies, the things that make you happy, the things that piss you the hell off. And that's okay. That's what you need to do, is unlock that. I feel like finding that hobby gives you time to decompress, gives you time to understand what about you truly enjoy. What about this time away from all the noise, all the chaos, sometimes all the confusion, that brings you satisfaction. Momming is not who you are. It is just a facet of who you are. That is something that I feel like we just need to reiterate and remember. While I am not a quotable person, I am not the type of person to say, this person said, insert quote. I am the type of person to tell you, if you're ready to make bold moves, if you're ready to take on life and do things that shift and change, you have to remember you. And in putting you first, that means putting that hobby first. That means finding other interests outside of the conferences, outside of the networking events. Because those things, ma'am, sir, that's not it. That's not the only thing that defines you. That's not the break, because that's not the vacation. That's not the time for you to unlock and unwind. That's what you want. But you want something that pushes you, that makes you excel for whatever level you currently are to that next level. Because you can have more. You're multifaceted. You're not one thing. You're not a single lane. You are able to have all those titles. Whether it's, they say, multi-hyphenated, the commas, it's all attainable and it's all achievable. Am I saying burn yourself out? Absolutely not. There is a lane for everything. There is a lane to be able to understand that it is okay to have this hobby, but then there's also that lane that says, you know what? What type of experiences am I looking for in life? Where am I at? Seasons change. Hell, kids grow up and they go to college, or they grow up and they move out the house. Then what? You're not letting your kids define you because you're kind of stuck with, what am I going to do? No, ma'am. We ain't doing that. We don't got time for that. So, as your bold moves bestie, I'm going to insert myself and let you know a few things that you can take away. So, if you don't already have a piece of paper, pencil, iPad, even though I'm team Android, or whatever modality that you want to use to take notes, let's get some notes going, because there's some key points that I want you to be able to think about from this episode. So, 1, how are you grounding yourself? How are you coming back to you, coming back to center? Is that prayer and meditation? Is that talking with a friend? Is that counseling? What does that look like to be grounded to you? Define what grounding yourself looks like. 2, think about what hobbies you used to do when you were younger. More than likely, those interests still remain to some degree or in some facet. It might have morphed a little bit because you're a little bit older, But look at that, because that's where you start to find that hobby. 3, be present. Be present in what you're doing. We're not thinking about to-do lists. We're not thinking about dinner. We're not thinking about whose clothes need to be washed and what laundry needs to be put away or what show needs to be queued up. No, you are taking this time to define what the hobby looks like for you so that you can have a moment of you, just you. Now, the fun part about all this, while you're jotting down hopefully a couple of these points, is remembering that in all of this, the center of it is you. The center and the takeaway is what it is that you find enjoyment and fulfillment in. We're not talking about, oh, I got to run my kid to this activity, so I'm going to go squeeze this hobby in. No, for me, aviation, I take at least 2 to 3 hours, including commute time, out of my schedule, out of my day for me to go train, for me to get better. Now, the one thing I can admittedly say I need to do better on is my studying. But for flight time, I take that time out. That's my time. My phone goes on do not disturb and I'm good. I'm in the skies. I'm focused and I'm training. That's what I do. That's how I get my hobby in. You can't sit here and grind yourself and listen to all the, you got to keep moving and you got to keep pushing. Yes, there's goals we got to get. Yes, there's things that we're trying to attain, but it's not the only thing. That hobby gives you a moment and a break in what you're doing. The final point that I want to talk about, and it really is, I find, not only as a mom, but as a partner, is making sure that you're communicative. One thing I stress in my family is communication. So much so, if it's not on the calendar, and that's inclusive of my kids, it doesn't exist. It's not happening. So even if it's tentative, we're penciling it in, we're thinking about it. It might happen, it might not. If it's something that has to do with the kids, myself, or my partner, it's all on the calendar. It's blocked on the calendar. And we know what's happening where. I encourage you to, whatever form of a system works for you. It might be a digital calendar. It might be a paper calendar. Hell, it might be text messages back and forth. But whatever modality works for you, having that communication of schedules will allow you to clearly see what is happening so that you can make that time. You may have a whole hole of time that you're sitting there Netflixing and chilling when you could be doing your hobby. Netflix and chill is not a hobby, unless of course you're an actor or an actress or behind the scenes, but it's not a hobby otherwise. So make sure that you're fulfilling you, filling your cup first, not last. Because as moms, we tend to put ourselves last. Ain't time for that. I know being a mom is incredibly rewarding, but what about those dreams you put on hold? At Black Girls Fly, we're on a mission to reignite your passion for aviation. I'm calling out all women in their late 20s and 30s. Whether you've paused aviation for your family or career, it's time to take flight again. Black Girls Fly is here to support you on your journey. We understand the challenges, the dreams, and the desire to return to what truly makes your heart soar. Follow us on Instagram at Black Girls Fly Inc., and we'll catch you in the skies. We tend to come up with excuses about why we don't have time for a hobby, what that might not look like, what that looks like, entertaining it as a discussion point instead of putting it in action. It's time to be bold. It's time to step into your purpose. It's time to make your hobby primary. Yes, your family will still be there. They'll still love you. They'll still support you, and it'll be okay. I promise. Your hustle, your work, your career, your motivation, your drive deserve some time for you. One of the things I've heard on the interwebs with some of my friends is, but mom life, but this commitment. Well, at what point do you take a step back and look at that commitment and realize that you're no longer in it for the fun, or you're no longer in it for insert that adjective? When are you going to step into you and understanding that until you put you first and recognize what that means, that all the hustle, all the grind, all the burnout is for naught? I challenge you right now, close your eyes. I'll close my eyes for a minute too with you. I want you to think of the last time you truly were happy. And in that happiness, what were you doing? What was the undercurrent? Is it something you would continue to do? Is it laying on the beach? Was it building a sandcastle with your kid? But what in that? What can you take from that to turn into a hobby? Maybe it's woodworking, believe it or not. Maybe it's being an author for fun. If profit comes, great, but for fun. Maybe it's you struggled with something and so now you want to see a difference. No, you don't have to go out and form a nonprofit, but you can turn it into a hobby. You can still keep your career. You can still keep your full-time job. You can still keep your entrepreneurship, your company, your business. But that hobby, without it, you're kind of just going from motion to motion, from point A to point C, from point A to point Z. But that middle, that thing that keeps you connected, grounded, finding other interests, like-minded people, community, that's what you get with a hobby. I told you earlier I strayed away from understanding what some of my hobbies were and actually continuing them. One of them was crocheting, and don't date me, I'm not that old, but it was crocheting. It was something that I loved doing. And it was just for fun. There was no profit in it. I made blankets and scarves and ponchos and things like that. And that was fun for me. That was something that I enjoyed doing just for the sake of doing something fun. And I would gift blankets and I would gift scarves and I would gift. Now, I didn't get as creative. My older daughter, she has this thing on lock, all the little stuffed toys and all those other things. But finding that hobby, that was a time for me to just think. Not worry about anything, not having to watch anything, just think. And not even like the difficult in your head type thinking, just random fluid thoughts going back and forth. That was what I had in my hobbies. So crocheting was one. Reading for me was another. And yes, I consider that a hobby because I was reading like, it's going to bring up a certain celebrity, but I'm not. I didn't read 3,000 books a day, so I'm going to let that go. But I was reading a lot of books, business, interests. I looked heavily on just like creativity because for me that was fun. Yes, I got knowledge. Yes, I got additional understanding in other areas, but it wasn't something that I was like, I have to have all these T's crossed and I's dotted. I told y'all I suck at quoting people. I know that's a big thing out there, but I was for sure going to make sure that whatever it is I was doing for me was something that I enjoyed doing. It wasn't something popular because when I was crocheting, that was not a thing. Or classical music. I used to listen to classical music like all the time. At 16, fun story, I would listen to the local news radio station. And that was how I would get all my information on my news. And then to go to sleep, I would listen to classical music. Whatever. I was 16. Yes, that was like a stigma in high school. I didn't give a crap. Like, I didn't care. That was my thing. Was it a hobby? No, but I did play. But yeah, I used to play the flute, y'all, and the piccolo. That was fun. That became a hobby. I knew I wasn't going to major in it, so it was just something fun that I like to do. So you have a hobby, and this is me coming up in grade school. The other hobby that I have, I think some people would argue to say it's not, but is color coding. I like things in color coded, not necessarily like it has to be the rainbow type order, but just like light colors together. That's fun for me. So like organizing a closet or like cleaning something out and then putting things back in like, nice, neat rows or bins and by color. That's fun. Like the kids were small. We used to call sour cream and onion chips green chips because it was in a green bag. Or the plain chips, they were in the yellow bag. So we call them yellow chips. And for me, the color aspect of it was fun. No, that's not a hobby. I get it. But being able to have that organization, because I have mild OCD and a bit type A. Okay, a lot of type A. But I liked that. And that was fun. But getting the kids involved was also fun. So was that a hobby? Not exactly, but you get where I'm going with this. It's something that I enjoyed doing. It wasn't always work, 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 work. Yes, I'm very driven. Yes, I'm very motivated to get things done. But you got to have those things that give you, I'm not going to say balance. I don't believe in balance. I believe it's always a give and a take. So even while you're pursuing your hobby, outside of your hustle, you're looking for not balance because yet again, it is a give and a take. What is it? It is a give and a take. Everybody's so pressed to follow balance and achieve nirvana, and you're not going to have it all together. When I'm flying for 3 hours, guess what? The kids are doing their thing with their dad, with my partner, and that's okay. Balance doesn't exist to me. You're giving up something for something else, and that's okay. And you need to learn to be okay with that. There's not this achievement of balance and all of a sudden everything comes in perfect alignment. That's not the case. It is pursuing hobbies and interests that you care about. Your hobby is about you. Don't brush it off. Think about what you enjoy. What brings fulfillment? Maybe you like drinking wine and you want to tour different wineries across the states or internationally. That's a hobby. That can be a hobby. You are a connoisseur of Cabernets. I am a connoisseur of Cabernets, and I am a connoisseur of bourbons. I can say that. Now, is that my hobby? Nah, but I do like it. But for you, your hobby may be that. And guess what you get out of that? You get the fulfillment of visiting these different wineries, experiencing different wines, maybe writing and journaling about them, and something in that is inspirational for you. It charges you up. It gives you energy. That's a hobby. So stop thinking of hobbies as like these slivers of other people's definitions, and define for yourself what your hobbies will be. And if you have hobbies and you're like, dude, this is kind of old, guess what? You could flip script and go do something else. And nobody got time to be sitting up here talking about I think I got a hobby. No, I don't. No, enjoy what you're doing. Then that becomes your hobby. For my non-moms, and it's okay that you're a non-mom, or my soon-to-be moms, find things that you find fulfilling now. That might be going for a walk. That might be wanting to walk in every of the 50 states that we have here in the US. Globally, that might be in your area, wanting to walk and go see and take a picture or capture something in it. That's okay. Maybe there's nature involved. I am not a nature person. Bugs is not my cup of tea, but that might be your cup of tea, and that's okay. Maybe you like planting things. I'm just trying to give you some ideas to help you think outside the box of what a hobby is. It's more than just collecting something, or more than just, I'm going to try to make a little bit of time for this little small thing over here. No, your hobby is something that should help develop who you are, should stretch who you are, in my opinion, and allow you to be more than just that one title. Because you are more than just that one title. Hustling and grinding is overrated. Yep, I said it. It's overrated and it's outdated. There's a flow that comes with adopting a hobby. There's a flow that comes with your, no pun intended, workflow when you have a hobby. You're more committed. You're more dedicated. You're more understanding of how you're spending your time and what you're spending your time on, because guess what? You have a hobby. And yes, we might get wrapped up occasionally in other things, in other activities, whether it's with our partner, our spouse, our significant other, our kids, our pets. And that's okay. Give yourself grace. Taking on a hobby, especially a new one, something completely outside of what you may be used to, is okay. And will you fail? Maybe. Just go try again. Pottery is a hobby for some. Woodworking is for others. Being bossy is for others. I'm kidding. It's not. That's not a hobby. But all I'm getting at here is making sure that you understand that you can't get lost in whatever your title, whatever you may associate or identify as your title, being the only thing that defines you. What I'm trying to get across is that when you're out here making the money, or having the career, or being the mom, or being the pet mom, that your hobby brings you back to center. Your hobby is your way to get back to you. Something you like to do, something you enjoy. Hell, your hobby may be a book club. You might run a book club, and that's okay. Understand that hobbies aren't a one size fits all. And you're going to have to continue to find that community. Developing that community in that hobby is how you tend to go to that next level. So, my bold moves bestie, your hobby is now going to help supplement your hustle, even though I don't like that. All right. So, with that being stated, I'll catch you on the next episode of She Built Success. I'm your host, Claudia. Catch you soon.